Hogan's Heroes, 1965 to 1971, was more than just a hit sitcom set during World War II, it was a beloved television phenomenon in America. However, behind the laughter and clever escapes, the real lives of its cast members were marked by tragedy and heartbreak. Some met untimely ends in horrific accidents, others became entangled in mysterious circumstances, and several endured long battles with illness. Join us as we uncover the haunting truth behind the cast of Hogan's Heroes, a dark and tragic chapter hidden beneath the golden age of Hollywood. Bob Crane was born in 1928, and his life was a paradox, a mix of charm, success, and dark shadows lurking behind the scenes. As the quick-witted and daring Colonel Hogan, he became a household name, effortlessly leading his fellow prisoners in their antics against the bumbling Nazis. But behind the laughter, Crane's personal life was a tangled web of scandal and tragedy. His first marriage to Ann Terzian crumbled under the weight of his growing fame, and his second marriage to Patricia Olson, Sigrid Valdis, was marred by his insatiable appetite for sex and pornography. His obsession led him into a murky underworld of illicit relationships and videotaped escapades, often with the help of his close associate, John Henry Carpenter. On June 29, 1978, Crane's life came to a violent and mysterious end in an Arizona apartment, where he was bludgeoned to death in his sleep. The crime, shrouded in speculation, left investigators grasping at shadows. Carpenter was later tried for the murder, but with insufficient evidence, he walked free, leaving Crane's case officially unsolved, a grim final act for a man whose on-screen charisma masked a life of secrets and self-destruction. Cynthia Lynn was born in 1937, a woman whose life was as complex as it was tragic. Born Zinta Valda Ziemelis in Latvia, she and her mother fled the Soviet occupation during World War II, enduring hardship as refugees before eventually settling in the United States. In Hollywood, she found moderate fame, best known for her role as Colonel Klink's secretary, Helga, in the first season of Hogan's Heroes. Her striking beauty and charm made her memorable, but her career never reached great heights. Off-screen, her personal life was filled with heartbreak. She was romantically linked to Marlon Brando, a relationship fraught with turmoil and unfulfilled promises. Though she later married and had a daughter, Lisa Brando, the shadow of her past relationships loomed over her life. In her later years, she largely withdrew from Hollywood, making only occasional public appearances. On March 10, 2014, she died of multiple organ failure in Los Angeles at the age of 76, another starlet whose dreams never quite materialized the way she had hoped. Werner Klemperer was born in 1920, a son of renowned conductor Otto Klemperer, and his life was a testament to contradiction. The German Jewish actor fled Nazi Germany with his family, only to later become famous for playing the bumbling yet pompous Colonel Klink, the very embodiment of Nazi incompetence. Klemperer insisted that Klink be portrayed as an absolute fool, refusing to allow any glorification of the Third Reich. While his professional success was undeniable, his personal life was filled with struggles. His first marriage to Susan Dempsey ended in divorce, and despite a later union with Kim Hamilton, he spent much of his life battling depression and struggling with his father's towering legacy. Though he continued acting in television and opera, he never quite escaped the shadow of Colonel Klink, a role both beloved and burdensome. In his later years, Parkinson's disease took its toll, robbing him of the energy that once defined his performances. On December 6, 2000, he passed away in his home in New York at the age of 80, leaving behind a legacy defined by both humor and irony, a German-Jewish refugee forever linked to one of television's most infamous fictional Nazis. John Cedar was born in 1931, an actor who spent his life in the shadows of Hollywood, always present but never fully seen. As Corporal Langenscheidt in Hogan's Heroes, he played the gullible underling to Colonel Klink, adding comic relief to the show's dynamic. But Cedar's career was far more extensive than many realized. He was a screenwriter, producer, and actor who appeared in films such as The Manitou, 1978, and Death Hunt, 1981. Despite his talent, he never achieved mainstream stardom, instead carving out a career as a reliable character actor. His personal life remained relatively quiet, but the struggles of an unpredictable industry took their toll. In his later years, he battled health issues, and on April 14, 2011, he succumbed to leukemia at the age of 80. His death was a quiet exit from an industry that often overlooked him, but his work endures in the fabric of classic television history. Sigrid Valdis was born in 1935, a woman whose life was forever intertwined with both love and loss. Born Patricia Annette Olsen, she found fame as the flirtatious Fräulein Hilda in Hogan's Heroes, a role that made her a recognizable face but never quite turned her into a star. On set, she fell deeply in love with the show's leading man, Bob Crane, and the two married in 1970. It should have been the beginning of a fairy tale, but their union was overshadowed by turmoil. Crane's infidelities and secret life of compulsive sexual encounters left their marriage in tatters, and just 2 years later, tragedy struck. Crane was found brutally murdered in a Scottsdale hotel room, a crime that remains unsolved. Devastated, Valdis retreated from Hollywood, disappearing from the spotlight to raise their son, Robert Scott Crane. The years passed in relative obscurity, and though she eventually remarried, her life never regained the light it once had. On October 14, 2007, she passed away from lung cancer in Anaheim, California. Her final wish was to be reunited with Crane, and her ashes were interred beside his, a tragic epilogue to a love story marred by scandal and mystery. John Banner was born in 1910, and fate dealt him a cruelly ironic hand. A Jewish actor from Austria, he escaped the horrors of the Holocaust only to become famous for playing the bumbling, lovable Sergeant Schultz, a German prison guard whose motto, "I know nothing," became one of television's most iconic catchphrases. The irony was not lost on Banner, who had lost many of his relatives to the Nazis. His acting career spanned decades, including roles in The Blue Angel, 1959, and The Interns, 1962, but it was Hogan's Heroes that made him a household name. Behind the laughter, his personal life was marked by loneliness. He had no children and found little lasting happiness outside his work. His marriage to Christine Banner provided companionship but could not fill the void left by the family he had lost. In his later years, he suffered from declining health, and on January 28, 1973, his birthday, he passed away from an abdominal hemorrhage while visiting Vienna. The city that had once been his home, and from which he had fled in fear, became the place of his final breath. Howard Kane was born in 1926, a master of transformation who could become anyone, but never quite found himself. As the snarling, paranoid Major Hochstetter in Hogan's Heroes, he brought a menacing energy to the role, turning the character into an unforgettable part of the show's ensemble. Off-screen, he was a man of many talents, a skilled musician who excelled at playing the banjo and an actor who could slip into any dialect with ease. His career spanned television and film, with appearances in Judgment at Nuremberg, 1961, and The Man from UNCLE, yet he remained largely a character actor, never reaching the level of fame he may have desired. His personal life remained relatively private, but Hollywood's fickle nature left him struggling for roles as he aged. His later years were spent away from the limelight, focusing on his music rather than the industry that had moved on without him. On December 28, 1993, at the age of 67, he succumbed to a heart attack in North Hollywood, leaving behind a body of work that, though often overlooked, still endures in the memories of classic television fans. Leon Askin was born in 1907, and fate placed him in the cruelest of realities. Born Leon Ashkenazi in Vienna to Jewish parents, he grew up in a world that would soon turn against him. As the towering and ruthless General Burkhalter in Hogan's Heroes, he played a pompous Nazi officer with a blend of menace and absurdity, but the horrors of his own past were anything but comedic. In 1938, he was forced to flee Austria after the Nazis took power, escaping to France before making his way to the United States. His parents were not so lucky, they were murdered in the Holocaust, a tragedy that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Though he found success in Hollywood, appearing in films like Road to Bali, 1952, and Airplane 2, the sequel, 1982, he never truly escaped the sorrow of his origins. His personal life was marked by solitude, his marriages were fleeting, and he never had children. In his final years, he returned to Austria, the land that had betrayed him, choosing to spend his last days performing and teaching. On June 3, 2005, at the age of 97, he passed away, a survivor of history's darkest chapter, a man whose life story was far more compelling than any role he ever played. Richard Dawson was born in 1932, a man whose charisma and quick wit made him a natural entertainer. As Corporal Peter Newkirk, the smooth-talking English conman of Hogan's Heroes, he won over audiences with his roguish charm. But behind the cheeky persona was a man haunted by personal demons. Born Colin Lionel M in England, Dawson endured a difficult childhood, his parents' strained relationship setting the tone for his own troubled romantic life. His first marriage to actress Diana Dors, once considered Britain's answer to Marilyn Monroe, ended bitterly, leaving him emotionally bruised. He later found love with Gretchen Johnson, whom he met on Family Feud, but the scars of his past lingered. Dawson's career flourished beyond Hogan's Heroes. He became a beloved game show host, famous for kissing female contestants on Family Feud, though the public persona masked private struggles with alcohol and an insatiable need for validation. In his later years, he faded from the spotlight, his once vibrant energy dimmed by illness. On June 2, 2012, he succumbed to complications from esophageal cancer, a quiet and subdued end for a man whose life had been lived so loudly. Larry Hovis was born in 1936, a man of many talents, but forever remembered as the explosives-loving Sergeant Andrew Carter in Hogan's Heroes. Unlike his dim-witted yet lovable character, Hovis was highly intelligent, a gifted comedian, and a talented musician. Before acting, he pursued a career in music, even writing songs for rock bands. Yet, despite his talents, Hollywood never truly gave him the recognition he deserved. After Hogan's Heroes, he found himself typecast, struggling to find leading roles, relegated to guest appearances on shows like Alice and Gomer Pyle, USMC. His personal life fared no better. His marriage to Carol Bergstrom ended in divorce, leaving him adrift in the unpredictable tides of show business. Later in life, he turned to teaching, becoming a drama professor at Texas State University, mentoring young hopefuls in an industry that had all but forgotten him. In 2003, cancer took hold of him, an unforgiving disease that ravaged his body. On September 9 of that year, he passed away at the age of 67, leaving behind a legacy of laughter, though much of Hollywood had already moved on. Robert Clary was born in 1926, and his life was a tale of survival in the face of unimaginable horror. Unlike his fictional counterpart LeBeau, the cocky and resourceful French POW, Clary was no mere actor playing a prisoner, he had lived through the real thing. As a teenager, he was deported to Nazi concentration camps, where he lost most of his family, including his parents, who were sent to the gas chambers. Clary endured years of suffering in Buchenwald, surviving by entertaining his captors with songs and jokes. After the war, he rebuilt his life in America, carving out a career in film and television, appearing in The Hindenburg, 1975, and Days of Our Lives. Yet, the ghosts of his past never left him, nor did the struggle to be understood in a world that could never truly comprehend his pain. His marriage to Natalie Cantor-Metzger, daughter of comedian Eddie Cantor, provided stability, but he carried the scars of his youth for the rest of his life. In his later years, he dedicated himself to Holocaust education, determined that the world should never forget. On November 16, 2022, at the age of 96, he died in his Los Angeles home, one of the last remaining voices of a generation that had endured the worst of humanity, only to rise again. Ivan Dixon was born in 1931, a man of talent, intellect, and quiet determination. As Sergeant James Kinchloe, the radio operator and technical mastermind of Hogan's Heroes, he brought a level of dignity to a role that, in the wrong hands, could have been reduced to a stereotype. But Dixon was more than just an actor, he was a pioneer. He fought against the limitations imposed on black actors in Hollywood, refusing to settle for demeaning roles, pushing instead for meaningful, complex characters. His work extended beyond acting. He became a director, helming episodes of The Waltons, Magnum, P.I., and The Rockford Files. Yet, despite his professional successes, personal happiness often eluded him. His marriage to Burley Ray Dixon lasted for decades, but the strain of his battles in the industry and his relentless pursuit of change left him weary. In his later years, he withdrew from Hollywood, retreating into a quieter life. Then came the devastating blow: complications from kidney failure. On March 16, 2008, he passed away at the age of 76, leaving behind a legacy of strength, perseverance, and a career that, while groundbreaking, never quite received the recognition it deserved. What do you think about the tragic deaths of the Hogan's Heroes cast, and who do you remember most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch our latest videos.